Thank you so much for being attentive for this long. I know it's 5:25. It's not that easy to sit through the day and listen in. I hope really we are able to do justice to your time. You see a full house here, and we've been tasked to talk about AI. Although on one end of the spectrum is AI, which is very interesting these days. On the other end of the spectrum is always boring and dreary insurance, right? And we have to sort of marry the both. So we have a tough job here. There are, I should say, people from very large organizations like AWS, Swiss Re. There are tech players out here like the Candela Labs and from another startup, and then there is a micro insurer here, and I also am a startup founder working in the insurance space in India, right? So with a quick overview of the panel, first let me set the stage up in terms of what we are going to talk about, right? How many of us have sort of dabbled with AI here? Just a show of hands. And by AI, I mean creating Ghibli photos or having our happy birthday messages being designed by somebody else, or the resignation letters maybe being designed, right? So we would have done it all, right? But to be honest, I don't think that AI is just that, right? AI is a lot more. In fact, 2 years or 3 years back, AI was supposed to be a lot more, right? So I think before we move on and talk about AI and insurance together, let's just go back a bit, maybe 2 or 3 years back, and just figure out what AI would mean at that moment, right? Sri, if you can sort of talk about that, that would be very helpful to start off with. Just give us an overview, right? What, in your opinion, is AI, right? And how it is much, much more bigger than how people have been seeing it in the recent history.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the definition of AI itself, right, stays as what it was 40 years ago, right, which is basically what we call as Turing test, right? So if you're not able to differentiate in a particular use case between a human being and a machine, right, that's AI, right? So while the definition is only textbookish, how it has evolved and what it can do for us is what is like really interesting for all of us here, right? So when we started off this entire world in, between 2000 and 2010, basically we were all talking about the quote unquote data analytics, if you will. You get a dashboard as a CXO or a leader in an organization, you get a dashboard, you get visibility and control into what's happening in the organization, right? It's very, very basic. Then we started off more predictive. Okay, what will happen tomorrow? How much is my inventory going to be? How many fraudulent transactions am I going to have? And so on and so forth, right? Then in November 2022, right, something happened, right? As all of us know. Any guess? Right, yeah. So November 2022, ChatGPT released OpenAI, which was the first version of what we call as the Gen AI today, right? Now this kind of revolutionized how we were looking at AI, right? Because now you have a machine that can converse with you as a human being, either through simple English, or you upload document or image or audio, video, whatever. It can actually understand and process, right? And then based on the context of what it has been trained on, it actually respond back to you, right? Either with a summary or with a response, etc., etc. Right? Now, this kind of revolutionized how human-machine interaction happens, right? And that was a stepping stone into the entire new world that we are stepping into today, right? And then came the agentic AI, which is like 2 steps ahead of this, right? Now, this can not only do all those things that Gen AI does in terms of interaction, but it can also reason, and it can retrieve, and it can act. Right? What it means, okay, tomorrow, you suppose you want to go to Coorg, for example, right? You ask, okay, what should I wear? I'm going to Coorg, right? Now, in normal ChatGPT or Google search would have told you, looked at, okay, what other, 10 other people were wearing in Coorg, and then told you, okay, this is what you should be wearing, right? But now this is what it will do. It will understand that, okay, you need to go to Coorg, and I need to first understand what is going to be the weather in Coorg, right? So it will go to weather.com, figure out what's going to be the weather in Coorg. It realizes tomorrow it's going to be raining, day after tomorrow it's going to be sunny, right? Then it will come back and ask you, bhai, kab jana hai aapko Coorg, right? Then you tell, no, I need to go day after tomorrow, right? Then based on that, it's okay, day after tomorrow it's going to be sunny in the morning, so you better wear appropriate dress, but carry a jacket with you just in case, because there is 40% chance of rainfall, right? So now, and then of course it can book the ticket also for you for your favorite resort or whatever it is, right? So it can reason, it can retrieve, and it can act, right? Now this opens a completely new set of capabilities for us, where a lot of things that we were doing as human beings can now be delegated, quote unquote, right, to the machine, right? Now, bunch of use cases have exploded, as you know, like in banks, insurance companies, NBFCs. Most of the call centers are getting replaced because the call center agent can actually talk to you, understand what you want, and go back and retrieve your account statement, or understand your complaint and escalate to the right person, whatever, respond to your emails, right? And all the underwriting can be supported, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about lot of use cases around that, right? But this is where AI is today. So today's definition of AI is that, okay, it's a machine that can understand what you're talking about, process it, retrieve data within the context of the organization, and it can act, right? And reason, of course.
Right. So thank you so much, Sri. Now, if you just notice when Sri talked about world before OpenAI, right? He talked about dashboard, visibility, control, fraudulent transactions, etc. Right? All of a sudden, we are in the spectrum of insurance, right? That's exactly what we talk about all day, right? While there is a lot of similarity, or there's a lot of relevance between AI and insurance, we touch upon that later. But very relevant point you talked about your trip to Coorg. The other day I was watching a video where the same question was asked to Perplexity, OpenAI, to all the other sort of Gen AI products as of now. Just a simple question, select a number from 1 to 50, right? All of them selected 27 for some reason. I don't know why, right? Probably at the back end, the engine is exactly the same, right? So I don't want to go to Coorg with 100 people coming with overcoats of black color. So I don't want to live in that world. But moving on, I mean, that brings us to the other segment, which is very, very important, right? What has this AI actually perfected up till now, right? Because if we are talking about insurance, if we are talking about other businesses replacing humans, this is serious business, right? We can't sort of miss the bus on this, right? So what is it that AI has already perfected, right? If you can just give a quick overview of the use cases, right? Once you give that input, Sri, we'll move on to the next segment.
Absolutely, yeah. So there are a few use cases that now with what we could call as predictive analytics, along with the Gen AI and agentic AI has perfected, right? So some of the use cases are working extremely well in production at production scale, right? For example, anything that involves classification, right? It's working extremely well. You are a large bank or an insurance company or an NBFC, for example. You get about 100,000 emails a month, right? Now you want to classify those emails into, okay, these are complaints, these are service requests, these are some escalations, these are, whatever, right? And then this is the product line, this is LOB, etc., right? It could do an extremely good job of, classifying, right? So, and then respond back, or even it can prepare a draft for you for response, and then you just review the draft and send it off, right? So so anything classification is working out very well in production in large organizations. Second one that's working well, I think we were just talking about that in the back room, is the anything that's involving text and text summary. You give it a text and then ask for a summary, ask a follow-up question about it, etc., etc. Anything that your notebook LM does, right? So that's working out very well. Due to which, in large organizations, for example, if you're an underwriter, right, you want a summary of this particular loan case or insurance case, and you want to look at what is the guy, and then his bank statement, his health status, etc., etc. It will give a beautiful summary and give you a recommendation about this is what you should be doing with this policy, whether to issue or not, right? Right. And similarly, if you go to the legal thing, right? So if there is a particular case today, as a lawyer, if you want to handle, there will be about 8 to 10 interns who sit for like 2 weeks, go through this case and all the related documents of this case, and all the similar cases that happen anywhere in India, right, and what are the judgments around it, and then prepare a summary for the main lawyer, right, the partner lawyer, right. And this is about 2 weeks worth of work for about 8 interns. All that can be done in 5 minutes because this guy does extremely good job of doing that. Right? So anything that involves text, summarization, or asking a follow-up question about it, it's doing a very, very good job, right. So where it's not working well is, okay, if you want to take all this, or for example, even Amazon does that summary of the reviews and all that, right? But if you want to put a number to it, right, using some judgment, that's where it becomes a problem, right? So for example, there is some, for example, this, say Akshay Kumar's movie is coming for example next week, right? And you want to, so I say, okay, this particular movie is coming and this is the plot and this is the theme, this is the heroine. Okay, tell me whether it's going to, how much, give me a rating on the scale of 10, how good the movie is, and also what's the revenue that's going to make, right? Now, it might say with very good confidence as to, okay, this is 7.3 on 10, it's going to be on IMDb and it's going to earn you, say 12 crores, for example, in the first 3 days, right? Great, and then it gives you 5 reasons why it does that. Tomorrow, give it exactly the same data and ask the same question, it might give a completely different answer. And a very convincing reason as to why it gave that answer, right? Now, so consistency is a problem wherever there is some amount of quantification using judgment is involved. So that's not yet working well. It can still work well with a lot of contextual training, but obviously there is scaling problem with that, right? So, yeah.
So thank you so much, Sri, for telling us what it doesn't do well, because my next question is actually coming to the ladies here. So let me give you a quick overview. The lady on my immediate left, she works in a micro insurance firm working on parametric insurance products. Parametric insurance products are typically activated on their own. Say, for example, if your flight gets cancelled, right, you buy an insurance and you get the money back, right? Automatically that happens. You don't have to put in a claim. That's exactly what parametric is all about. The lady on my far left is basically working in an reinsurance company, provides insurance to insurance companies, so a wholesaler of insurance, right? So what they both are going to present or talk about right now is, does this sound real? Does this sound close to what you guys are going to believe on, or does it just sound something which is built up in the air and you're going to sort of listen to it but discard it at the end, right? Is it relevant enough in the real world? The mistakes that Sri has been talking about, are they going to be catastrophic, or you're able to manage still? And I know for a fact that you're yearning to go for it because you are from the Swiss Re institutes, and that too in the risk management side of it. So definitely you have some solid risks which are already identified in this space. So please throw some light. And after that, Mitali, please go ahead.
Thanks, Prabal. And yes, I think AI is a topic which you can look at as a glass half empty or a glass half full. Being an optimist, let me start with the glass half full. And here I would like to say, I think we would all agree on the side of the stage that AI has been really transformative for the insurance industry. From being able to filter through to the right customer base with the help of data, to asking intelligent, risk-relevant questions through digital underwriting, to customers being able to interact with insurers digitally, seamlessly at the click of a button. I think there are use cases for AI through the entire value chain, through all the LOBs. But instead of taking you through examples by LOBs, I think it would make more sense in terms of bucketing these examples of these use cases on the basis of how they benefit the industry. So I think I would put them under three broad categories. One is improved efficiency, one would be enhanced quality, and the third would be better risk management. And let me give you a few anecdotal examples to really take home these points. So firstly, improved efficiency. I think insurers and reinsurers are being able to get more and more data because of digitization of existing touch points. Thanks to telematics, satellite imagery, remote sensing, digitization of wellness records, etc. Now the ability of the insurers to translate these data points into actionable insights, that's what's going to really determine how far we've succeeded in incorporating AI into the value chain. The second point that I mentioned was enhanced quality, and going back to your point, Prabal, on a parametric product. So I would say Swiss Re, for example, has a flight delay compensation solution, which is a parametric product. And it's based on an AI model that uses more than 200 million historic data points, as well as information from 90,000 flights daily. And the way it works is very simple. If a customer, if you were to purchase this insurance solution along with your flight ticket and there's a delay, there's going to be an automatic payout without needing to file a claim. And the final example that I want to give is that of better risk management. Now, an Italian startup quite recently was given a patent for being able to record a visual panorama of a moving vehicle. So the moment the engine starts, the video also starts recording, and this recording is uploaded to the cloud, where it is kind of reassembled using computer vision to remove any private sensitive information such as the face of the driver, license plate, etc. And this anonymized video is then studied to classify driver profile, driver risk. And this can come in really handy in case there's an accident, to study the accident dynamics. So these are just some of the examples to highlight that we can do a lot with AI. But having said that, at the very onset, I also want to say that AI is not just a product or a solution that we are trying to sell or we are trying to internalize into our operations. It is also fraught with a lot of risks, which we as an industry would see more than any other industry, because it can be a reason for claims cropping up in the immediate vicinity of the time frame. And just a small example to really keep that in our minds, another anecdote really. So Air Canada last year lost a small small sessions court case when one of its consumers alleged that the airline had provided him with misleading information regarding the airline's compensation solution in case of a bereavement policy. So the airline's chatbot had led the customer to believe that he is eligible for refund, but actually he wasn't according to the policies. Now the airline very smartly tried to wiggle out of this entire case by saying that we should consider this chatbot as a separate legal entity of its own, responsible for its own actions. Now, of course, that was ridiculous, and Air Canada went on to lose this case and had to pay a small compensation amount. But this kind of a use case really highlights that we need to start asking this question, that in case something goes wrong, in case there is a liability, then who is liable? And will the insurance industry have to start paying claims because of this? So this is something, we had this whole phase when we were calling silent cyber. So I think this is more of a consideration for silent AI.
No, thank you so much for that view. And from that, Suguna, your view is also going to be very, very important, because probably you can give us a view of how does relatively smaller operations, right? How does that look at it? Because when you are dealing at a level where Swiss Re is probably either number 1 or number 2 reinsurer in the world, then the quantum of data and the quantum of stakes are very high, right? In the common sense dictates that you can actually bet on it only when your stakes are lower, right? And on that front, you can probably go ahead and increase the stakes slowly by slowly when you gain confidence. You can't just go ahead and play it international cricket on the first day, right? You have to play gully cricket and then graduate slowly. So have you been doing a similar thing in your organization, or have you already chosen areas, aspects, right, which you are going to use and make more efficient in terms of the AI? Is there anything in that?
Yeah, so I think I'll answer it in 2 parts. So how, we are consuming AI and how we are, looking at the side effects of AI too. Right. So consuming AI, yes, of course, it has gotten a lot of, underwriting efficiency to claims efficiency, which are, I think the low-hanging fruits. And now coming up to what the industry is struggling. So, since we were in, we are very new. So we were incubated by Lloyd's lab, just about 2 years back. And it's all about product innovation. So apart from parametric, we have been also looking at, for example, now we all know that AI is pervasive in, across industry. So how do we build new products, new insurance products as such catering to that? So exactly, like we were just talking about who is responsible if anything goes wrong. So we are actually betting big on algorithmic liability. So we are insuring algorithms. So you heard it right. So I'd like to share 2 use cases. So this is, again in the US market. So all of us know that, Amazon has its own algorithmic suspension when it comes to, the seller program that they run. So due to XYZ, now they've automated it so much that, based on the risk scores, they would automatically ban a seller. So what we are doing is that, if that user, that seller is found genuine. Now, this is a very big problem in US, and there are companies who are, sitting and fighting for litigation, with those sitting in between the sellers and the Amazon. So we have partnered with them and created an embedded product. So, either you are back on board as a seller, and what we as an insurance company do is, if, you are a clean merchant, then we would pay for the loss of business or sales. It's a small, small cash, but then this is something that we have created for e-commerce industry. And another interesting use case. So here there is a company, called Instant in US, which builds algorithms around customer identification. So a lot of fintechs use it for, identifying and profiling for, any kind of a transaction approval. So now, of course, there are a lot of false positives, false negatives. So again, there we come in, we are partnered with them that, in case, of course, they say that our algorithm is 97%, 96%, but then there is a model drift, there is a, change in behavior, there are new types of frauds, which probably they're not able to, the algorithm is not able to capture, then, that liability part of it is something that, we insure. So again, this goes very well, as a fail-safe product for the end customer that, you get a screening service, the fintech gets it, and, if anything goes wrong, then, you have an insurance.
No, very interesting. Actually, the algo insurance is something which is brand new. I have not heard of it anywhere. And very relevant as well. I mean, as a company, when we are giving out loans in an automated fashion, right, it becomes difficult. I don't know in the night I'm going to sleep, and when I wake up in the morning, how many loans are we going to be down with? And they can be good ones, and they can be really bad ones as well. I don't know who's going to game my algo. So it's actually very relevant, and it's got widespread use cases in that sense. Right. Now coming on to you guys, gentlemen in the middle. So while we've talked about what is AI, what does the insurance industry look at it, how it looks at it. The first thing which comes to our mind is, do they have actually the infra, right? Or do large organizations actually have the capability, right? Right now or in near future, right? To talk about that they will be able to implement all of this. I think from your experience, Vijay, where you were working in AWS, right? If you can throw some light on that and how you've seen it. In addition to that, Yogish, I'm sure you have talked to multiple clients on this front, and from your tech background, you would exactly know how large organizations work and what problems they would face if they would want to build. If you can just both talk about that, that would be very helpful.
Sure, Prabal. I think very interesting use cases so far, especially the algorithmic bit. Being an Amazonian can relate to the seller and the e-commerce platform dependencies, and great points on silent AI and so on, which have come up. So firstly, right, I think what we have seen at AWS is for anyone to embark on this AI journey, right, there are a few key pillars, right, if I may lay it out. And in my own way, I've kind of put this out in something called Digi, like D-I-G-I, right? Like if I were to simplify it in terms of, because we've seen so many customers get onto this journey, the post-2022 era, like Sri was mentioning. And then they've been trying to say, okay, how best do I go about it, right? Like what are things that can work, what are things that have not worked? The first thing what we see is the D is the data. Right? It's very true that the old adage garbage in, garbage out works even in the AI world, right? Like so the quality of the data, whether it be structured, unstructured, internal, external, depending on whatever channels you have which are coming in, it's super paramount, right? Like so it is very, very important to ensure that from a data integrity standpoint, quality standpoint, we are bang on before we embark on this journey, else the ROI will not really pan itself out, right? So that's the first in terms of D. I, in terms of infrastructure, right, today, I mean, at least from an AWS standpoint, we can definitely say that a lot of the infrastructure which powers AI is something which cloud enables, right? And it's cloud enables seamlessly, driving a lot of agility, resilience, with security, all of that, right? The whole 9 yards comes with the right infrastructure that customers have to choose. And when I say customers, this could be any kind of firm, right? It could be right from the smallest of insurtechs to the largest of insurers and reinsurers, right? Like it's important to choose these. These are literally pillars that we are talking about. So the I is for infrastructure. The G is for governance. The G of Digi is for governance, especially in a world like insurance, right? We know so highly regulated. Answerability is super important. Explainability of models is super important, right? Like, so how do you make sure that the governance frameworks are right? So that from a compliance standpoint, you can tomorrow say that, okay, it's because of X, Y, Z that this happened, right? And that's super important. And the last I is really what I would say integration. What do I mean by integration? A lot of times what happens is that AI projects start as data science projects, right? And it's very important, and I'm sure Suguna, you would relate to it, it's very important to align a lot of other business stakeholders for it to succeed, right? Else it just becomes like a standalone thing which happens in the, like, by the side. It's very important to have early buy-in and integration with business owners, business processes, and so on, right? And literally, these we have seen as building blocks for people who are embarking on the AI journey. And we really spend a lot of time with the customers in terms of saying that, okay, have you got these things right? You might not be at 100%, but at least have you crossed a certain threshold which ensures a high degree of success, right? So that's really what I would want to lay out.
Yogish, your inputs would also be very, very relevant here.
Thank you. Very good points. I'm just going to supplement, some of what. One of the key things is I want to start with business first, right? I mean, what happens is when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? I mean, so now that we all have agentic AI, everything looks like a problem that can be solved by agentic AI, right? I warn against that. One of the things I would say is not everything is suited for agentic AI, especially, right, based on experience. Anything that requires deterministic outputs, deterministic meaning something that you need to predict and it needs to happen in a repeatable fashion time and again, right? You can probably achieve good results while doing POCs using all of these agents, etc., for certain use cases, but that doesn't mean that they will, right? So first thing I would say is the business case that you pick, make sure that, and of course, I mean, there are lots of, experts around, lots of partners, solution providers who can help you with that, right? That's one thing that I would say. And of course, Vijay did mention data, right? So one of the key things about data right now is earlier in the machine learning world, you're training data set and data was the only thing that mattered. You had a clean, nice, training data set and that was it, right? I mean, with agentic AI and basically, LLMs coming in and with enterprise sources becoming data right now, right? I mean, if you have knowledge sources, like your SharePoint, your policy documents, your best of breed information documents, these all become now data for the machine, right? So which means that all of these is what the machine is going to, the model or the agent is going to use as its information to answer questions, to make decisions, etc., right? Make sure you supply the correct information. Make sure that information that you supply is not biased, is accurate, and doesn't expose any information inadvertently, right? That's one of the key things that I want to bring as a new spin to data. So this is quite very important. People start projects enthusiastically saying that, we're going to pour our knowledge bases to the, to the AI agent, and then, you suddenly find yourself, either giving inaccurate responses, biased responses, or leaking information, right? That's the second part about the data. Another thing I want to say before I jump into infrastructure, another thing that building block that I want to focus on is, I know there is a lot of hype around AI. I mean, democratization of AI has happened. Everyone's throwing budgets at AI. Everyone wants to build stuff using AI. I seriously recommend against DIY, do-it-yourself AI platforms, right? People, see there is an open source model available, they download it and they say, okay, I'll do it myself, right? I've downloaded DeepSeek and now I've built a platform, right? Don't do that. Right? Because there's a lot more to AI than that, right? Of course, play around with it, do your POCs, etc., to understand, validate your use case, like I said. Always fall back on mature platforms. There are lots of platform providers. Like I said, Cogitx is one, Sapiens, we provide a platform. There are lots of other platforms available. What that brings you is, it gives you a jump start, right? As insurers, it gives you a jump start. You can start, and the best part is there are a lot of things that you need to take care of while building these agentic AI solutions, right? You're talking about infrastructure, you're talking about security, you're talking about explainability, observability, you're talking about removing bias, you're talking about deterministic outputs, etc. Usually you'll find that these platforms, of course, do your bake-off, choose these platforms wisely based on your use case. Whether it's, for example, it's pure agentic, choose an agentic platform. If it's something that involves automation of processes, but you need guardrails, then choose an agentic process automation platform, etc., and all of that, right? Another thing I want to also speak about is is about infrastructure, right? I mean, I see a lot of insurers going about and saying that, you know what, we'll cobble our own infrastructure, DIY. I mean, we'll do our own infrastructure. You know, security is a big deal for us. I'm telling you, providers like AWS, Azure, they've perfected the art of, securing and, building secure, compliant, scalable cloud solutions, including AI, right? And your AI solutions are not your simple, just microservices solutions that you can just, cobble up and say that, I've got my solution right now, right? So fall back upon our hyperscalers like Azure, like AWS, etc. They've done this, they've perfected this art, etc. And, and that's one of the things. And last, I want to end with one of the things that, testing, right? I mean, as insurers, I think this is something that you need to focus on. And you need to focus on one very important aspect, two important aspects, I would say, bias, and that's something that I spoke of. The second thing that I would speak of is, now security is such a big deal, right? I mean, I know a lot of you have probably worked with enterprise systems. You've heard about standard injection vectors. Like, you probably said, okay, I've taken care of my SQL injection. I've taken care of my OWASP top 10. I'm home, right? I'm safe, I block my ports, etc. With generative AI and large language models coming in and prompts coming in, first thing I would say is prompt injection is a big deal, right? So assume nothing, right? I mean, what I'm saying is do not assume that anything that comes in, so assume the worst, firstly, right? In terms of security, anything can go wrong, it will, right? That's first thing. Second thing I would say is always sanitize inputs to your agents, to your models, etc., right? Always sanitize outputs from your models, etc., and all of that to make sure. And like I said, and don't try to cobble your own models, etc. Use established models out there, use established platforms out there. What they can give you is they can give you sort of observability, explainability, right? Because soon, like, financial risk, right? How did you arrive at a decision? All of these can be provided by these platforms and models. That's where I want to end. Thank you.
So thank you, Yogish. You used a lot of terms which I am thanking my computer engineering that I did. Otherwise, it was very difficult to understand. And I'm sure some of the things can be overwhelming as well. And I see that our time is up. But before we leave, right, I would just want to sort of have a little bit of more focus on the point that you mentioned in the last, right? You were basically questioning how do you trust such an entity, right, to give you results, right? We've seen multiple times and we've heard multiple times that the AI has gone rogue, right? While AI is an outcome of what is being built, right? Does one company actually, can they actually go ahead and trust another company to give all of their possible data to them and then hope for a very unbiased, very long-term view, right, which they can produce, right? I think, Mitali, probably you can give a quick perspective, and I think, Vijay, you can also talk about it because you represent a large organization again. I think from that perspective, would your organizations correspondingly be able to trust, and you were working in Swiss Re institutes, right? Would you personally trust a different entity, let alone Swiss Re? Would you personally trust a different entity to give you out a report on what is happening in the insurance industry on a particular topic? Would you really do that? And how much counter check will you do once you get the input from that particular outcome?
So I don't think I'm going to give the popular answer here. Personally, I wouldn't trust external third parties with my data, with my information. And I would in fact say that it's good to build in-house POCs to determine to what extent these can be scaled up before really going all out investing or partnering with another organization in terms of that's also investment of a lot of resources and money. So that's one point. So I wouldn't personally trust. The other part, I'm going to answer it in a slightly circular manner. It's not just about large organizations, say such as Swiss Re, partnering or entrusting smaller organizations with data. I think the larger question here is about the demand and supply of AI? Who are the suppliers of AI offerings and solutions? I would say it's us, right? The insurers, reinsurers, and we are hoping that the consumers will, absorb these offerings and solutions. But they are the ones who are creating demand for these offerings and solutions. So when we talk about trust, it is very, very important to establish that digital trust between consumers and producers of AI. And in order to do that, you have to ensure that there is access to data in the first place. There is, security. I think, we spoke a lot about security, safe, and, if the consumers feeling safe about exchanging their data to the third party. And lastly, and most importantly, and we should talk about it even if the time is up a little bit, is the fact that a human in the loop is always important. You have to determine what is the proportion of the tasks being divided between man and machine. And at the end of the day, AI, or even Gen AI particularly today, or agentic AI, its purpose should not be to replace. Its purpose should be to augment human expertise and allow human beings to do the tasks that are most suited for them. Things like claims. It's a highly emotionally charged experience. You need to deal with a lot of empathy, and that's something human beings can provide. So I think it's a matter of complementarity and not substitutability.
Got it. Thank you so much, Mitali. It makes a lot of sense, and I think your input, Vijay, from a Amazon level, and
sure.
also on a personal level. I mean, same question to her.
Absolutely.
Will you really trust it or not?
Yeah. So see, I'll tell you, and it's a very important question, right? And it's a very interesting question because I don't think there is one clear answer yet.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's what makes it very interesting. And I'll tell you how at least at AWS we have approached it, right? Because we are super paranoid about what our customers want and in terms of what they need in terms of privacy and security and all of that stuff. So one of the things that we said is, okay, now with increasing Gen AI usage, how can we adopt an approach where instead of a customer let's say using a model and exposing the whole of the data, can we adopt a different approach? What's that approach? We came up with something called Amazon Bedrock. I think many of you might have heard about it, right? So the concept of Bedrock is there is a customer environment, there is Bedrock, and then there are multiple LLMs above it, right? So Bedrock acts like a layer where instead of the customer data going to the model, we tell the customer, we bring the model to you, right? One, you get model choice. Second, we bring the model to you. What does it mean, right? You get to use the best of your models based on your use cases. And more importantly, the LLMs don't have direct access to the data. It's encrypted, and they cannot use it for training their models, which is where the concern comes from, right? That's one clear approach as a concept, as a philosophy we have taken. It's fairly unique. It's still, we hear, other folks trying to kind of incorporate it, etc. But this is a philosophy, The second philosophy is in terms of, we keep working with the customers saying that in terms of your architecture, in terms of your security and observability practices, where are you in terms of zero trust architecture? Right? Where are you in the journey? All right? Like, why leave gaps in your thing? So we have this interesting concept of shared responsibility, right? So there is security off the cloud and security in the cloud, right? And security and trust are very closely interlinked. That's why I'm kind of being, because any security breach leads to a trust breach, right? So we say, as a customer, what you put in the cloud is also your responsibility, right? So you cannot expose yourself to it and then look at it. So you need to get your basics right. Security off the cloud, we have done that for more than 20 years and kind of, we made it tight. So that's the second way by which, we have addressed it.
But what about you? Will you trust it or not?
So will I trust it for what is the question, right? So for what is the question? So if I have to go to Coorg and get a recommendation, I don't have a problem asking it for suggestions, right?
So we'll see you in Coorg in a black coat.
with that black t-shirt? So, but that's the thing, right? What do I use it for, right? Like, do I want to expose, let's say, my bank statement to it? Probably not, right? But would I use it for multiple use cases day to day, which makes my life convenient? Absolutely.
Got it. Yeah. So probably it already has your bank statement some way or the other.
So an account aggregator, maybe.
Yeah. So on that bombshell, right? That trust is still really a huge issue with AI, right? Be it at an individual level, and forget about it at a organization level, right? So we need to identify What are we going to do with it? We need to play it small. We need to play it smart. We need to make sure that what we are doing, the right outcome is coming or not, and make that answer come out correct repeatedly before trusting it, right? And I don't think we are right now in a place where we can trust it blindly. I mean, the expert panel has been talking about it vehemently as well. Thank you so much for your time, everybody, and thank you more for the attention. Would love to have a detailed conversation and a few questions as well, but I see Devika already showing me that the time is up a couple of times, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and attention.